Hello, everybody. We are back with the lab. I'm Seth, and I have Cody and Kel with me, and they're
Woo.
the actual hosts. And I'm just talking because they didn't want to do it. So,
We decided to let you do it for your birthday. So
Yes,
it was a
birthday
treat. I'm
stuff.
so sorry, everyone. They really wanted.
We're forcing you to do something super fun for your birthday.
Yeah. They threatened me
Yeah.
right before we pressed the button. So, yeah.
You got the coffee order wrong, so I mean,
I want it nice as it is.
So how does it feel to be a year older, Seth?
Speaking of, yesterday I celebrated by throwing axes because it's fun, and you can let out aggression. And I'm better at it than bowling. I suck at bowling, really bad. Anyway, I was there, and typically they have someone who's kind of like your chaperone, more or less, to make sure you don't kill each other, throw an axe backwards, or get too drunk, because they also serve alcohol. That's a really good combination.
That sounds really dangerous.
terrifying.
You sign a waiver, yeah, for sure. Oh, it's fine. You sign a waiver.
That's fine. Yeah.
There's some wild throws. People throw shit, and I threw a couple of ricochets that flew back. People scream. You're fine. Just put your hands up. Anyway, but what really got me, none of that bothered me. What bothered me was I was shooting the shit with our chaperone, who was, clearly a young dude. And to me, like, if you're younger than me, you're a teenager. Like, I fucking forget I'm almost 30. Like, oh yeah, like there's like a whole early 20s, mid 20s people that I forget exist, because I still think I'm like 22, even though I feel like I have the body of like a 40-year-old sometimes. But anyway, we're talking, and we offered him some of my birthday cake because one of my friends made me a cake, and he was like, "Oh, actually, I'm on a cut," and I was like, "A cut, you say? Do you partake in le bodybuilding? Are you just like, is it for aesthetics? Or are you interested in competing?" And he was just like, "Oh yeah, I really would like to compete someday." And we talked a little bit about that, and I got to squeeze in the fact that I've been to the Olympia, and he was like, he clearly thought that was very cool. And then I was like, "Oh, how old are you?" And he's like, 20. And I'm like, Jesus. And then what really got me is like, I was like, "Oh, well, last year I competed at Christian Guzman's Summit Shredding in the Transformation Division." And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool." And then I was like, "Yeah, and I want to keep competing." And then he looked at me like I had said my Make-A-Wish. Like, he was like, "Wow, and you're how old?" And I was like, "Well, 28 tomorrow." And he was like, "Wow, that's really impressive." And I was like, "Well, I can't wait to tell the guys that a 20-year-old thinks we're too fucking old."
Wow.
It was.
So
I was
cool.
sitting there like, man, I'm gonna go home and think about that now. Like, this kid thinks I'm too old. He's like, "You're bald like my dad," and then he kept comparing me to his father after that.
Cool.
Oh, my back hurts just hearing that. So, I know I said I had a funny story, and that was that, and now you've me. So,
That's more of a sad story.
Well, also, like, who fucking says that anyways? You're bald like my dad.
You're bald like my dad.
Like, that's...
People are stupid.
He was a kid, but he has no idea I'm talking about him, so I'll say whatever I want. He kept when people go like, "Oh, I have a really good physique," and he was doing all that. And Charisse was hearing all this, and she later was like, "What was he telling you? He had a good physique?" I'm like, "I mean, I didn't see anything. He was wearing clothes. Like, I mean, maybe." But he kept saying like, "Yeah, my friends call me boulder shoulders," and I was like, "Dude, I cannot see them, but I guess I'm gonna have to believe it." To me, a boulder shoulder, to be defined, has to be visible underneath thine clothing. Like,
I would agree with that.
And, like, you can't just like, I mean, unless you're, I don't know, wearing like an actual boulder shoulder. If you're wearing tight sleeves and I can't discern where that begins and ends, like your delt, you do not have boulder shoulders. Sorry, my God. But anyway, that was me burning him for hurting my feelings.
That's fair.
He's got some pebble shoulders, but that's about it. Probably it sounds like.
And we're not about body shaming, but he started it.
We're not shaming. We're just getting even, is all.
Yeah, that's it. That's
He was like, "Oh yeah, you guys are so cool," and I was just like, "I don't feel cool anymore, man, because you just made me feel ancient." I don't love it.
You're not even 30 yet.
Nope.
Cody and
But
I are in our mids. In our
I
mid
know.
30s.
Watch yourself, Seth.
Ouch. Ouch. Hey,
Hey, when I was at the Arnold, I saw in the program they had the over 60 category for masters, so people still compete.
There was also a 52-year-old dude competing in the Open. Wasn't masters, nothing.
Oh, yeah.
He looked fucking good, and I was surprised that he was 52 because he doesn't look 52. Like, you can kind of tell he was a little less lean in the glute area, but he looked really, really good. And I think he won his pro card when he was 47 or some shit like that. Like, so I'm all like, okay, there's some hope.
You mean there's hope?
There's some time.
My body's already falling apart, but I have hope.
It is just me kind of assuming it was an age thing. He could have just been looking at my physique and been like, this guy is delusional. So
well, he's a little delusional, it sounds like, too.
yeah,
So
we're all stupid together.
Yeah, I think everybody has that issue with the mirror. You see one thing and someone else sees a very different thing. So I think that's pretty common.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So what else is new with you guys? Cal, anything?
No, I mean, I went to the Arnold this weekend. The gym was crazy with like really famous pros, so it was really, really fun for me, but also extremely busy and stressful. But that's kind of where I'm at. And then I've just been really tired this weekend, like, because I feel like I was over-socialed this week.
Yeah.
I took like 2 naps yesterday, not just 1, 2 naps.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's so. I mean, any event where you're around a lot of people, even if you didn't even get a break because your gym was full of people, so you couldn't even have your normal safe space. So I imagine that would be pretty exhausting.
Yeah, I actually went to a different gym this weekend. I was there Thursday night, and it started getting packed. Like you couldn't even work out in there. Like, well, people were signing up for day passes to work out, and I'm like, dude, there's like 3 people around each machine, and it's a very crowded gym. Like, there's not a lot of room between pieces of equipment, so it was like already kind of crowded. And I'm like, fuck this. And I have my old gym membership. They never canceled it from when I used to work at the other gym. So I just stopped by and I went there instead. And it was wonderful because there was no one there.
I probably would have done the same thing.
And then I ran into another guy who works out at Pros where I work out. And he's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you doing here?
Like,
no, it's funny. It was very funny.
2-timer.
Well, I think.
What's new with you?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, nothing. Absolutely nothing. I don't think so. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. So pretty, just work, and that's about it. Working out. So pretty average week for me. So yeah, but I did watch the Arnolds. So
hell yeah.
I guess if you guys want to
Let's
chat
do
about that, all right.
Absolutely.
Wait, who was so I remember, I think I'm the only one who said that Samson was gonna win, for the record.
No.
Cody said Nick was gonna win.
What?
Cody said Nick was gonna win.
No, I said
Second.
I said there's a good chance that Nick will win because he was, returning. But I only named my top 3, so it was Samson, Nick, and Sean.
Yeah.
But I said I really like Samson's physique, so like I would be happy if he did win, and he did. So I'm completely happy with that. I almost feel a little bad for Nick, though.
I do feel kind of bad. I do too.
I just know he's got that, like, it's all his life matter, like it's all his whole purpose, he puts absolutely everything into it. And it's unfortunate because he definitely brought his best. I feel like he looked the best he ever has, but unfortunately his structure is just not as ideal. So I think that's where he ended up losing out, and there's nothing he can really do about that. So for him to win the Olympia, even basically he has to bank on someone coming in off, which sucks, So like
dirty.
with Samson or Andrew Jacked, as long as they come in dialed in and have everything on point, good chance they'll win. Derek, same, but Nick, he's got to come in perfect, but also hope that no one else comes in perfect.
You know what that sounds like to me? Time to retire.
Oh,
because if you can't, I know if you can't beat the bet, and like there's the, I mean, if you're right, and I think you are, I think he's about tapped, and considering where he started, he is a fucking inspiration. But as far as his overall structure, absolutely Samson, and honestly a fair amount of, no offense, Nick, just have better shape than he does. So
yeah,
I mean, are you just gonna? I mean, if it's for money, like, not to talk so much shit, but like I get it. But I don't know. I just say I wouldn't get the point of continuing to like beat your head against the wall if you know to some degree that you're just hoping that someone else is gonna slip up so you can get that payday like that.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think he will retire. I do think this is all he has. So he will do this until he cannot do this anymore. I think. Yeah. I truly think that.
Yeah, and he's still so young. So
yeah, he's 24, 25? Like, he's younger than all of us.
How old is Samson?
Samson definitely has to be older, right?
I don't know.
He gives off older vibes, but I have no idea.
Should I look it up?
I'm trying to type as fast as my little fingers can go.
My fingers are fat, so I can never type very fast.
I bet I could see Rami retiring.
Yeah. I mean, I think people are trying to encourage him to do so. But Nick is still so young. Sorry, I'm trying to look at his bio.
I'm looking at, is it on Generation Iron? Because I'm also...
Yeah, do you see it? I'm like, where's his age?
It's like a secret or something.
Because it doesn't say date of birth is unknown, so that's 0% helpful.
Well, I'm gonna guess in his 30s, but maybe. I mean, and that's all that I just said is like it is kind of in a vacuum for the next couple of years, because assuming, as those guys age, if their physiques decline, he does stand a chance, and he is one of the best in the world. I mean, he's right. If you're looking at the Olympia, he's number 3, right? So.
Yeah, I mean,
huge accomplishment.
He really did control, like, he had the best shape that he ever has because he somehow controlled his belly. So I was real sad afterwards because he just seemed so excited to be there, and especially after seeing Ramon Dino be such a tool during his posing session. It really ticked me off, to be completely honest. I was not yelling, but I was very unhappy. And okay, let me back up a little bit. So I don't like a lot of pro sports because I feel like they don't actually care about the sport anymore. So like I used to like watch like college football, college basketball, just because they seem like they care and they're doing it for the sport. And I think some of that magic gets lost in the pros. And they're just doing it for a paycheck, and that's what it feels like. And every time Nick was on stage, you can tell his heart is in it all the way. And with Ramon's posing, I was so disappointed because I was rooting so hard for him, and then his posing session just seemed like so half-assed, and he just seemed like, okay, that's it, goodbye. And it was like really short. And it was like so much of a bummer, I thought. And especially because this one last year was so good at the Arnold.
I think someone said that it wasn't that he was trying to half-ass it. He basically made a mistake and tried to hit a pose every time to the beat, but it was really fast. So someone was like, he just made the mistake of trying to hit a pose on the beat, and it was a very fast song, so it looked ridiculous.
Oh.
So like that would make sense, because it was very fast, and it was just like, what the fuck was that? Like it was just like, bam, done. So I don't know, what the deal was with that. I don't know if it was a genuine mistake or if it was like he didn't care. I feel like he had to have cared, because even his Olympia routine was better than that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it was like an off day or something.
I hope
but
so.
yeah, it was. Yeah,
Especially because and then yours put it out there. His routine was so cool, and it was just like, well, this is a bummer. I was rooting for you, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
I
at
don't
least
know.
he won best poser for his routine.
Yeah.
So at least they reward it, but they don't judge it as heavily, than just their actual physique, which makes sense. But
No, and I agree with that. I just hate it when people don't have what it looks like, don't have their heart in it, and it just it makes me bummed out.
Yeah, for sure.
Shake your ass better.
Especially because Maddie loves the fitness women, and I also find them very impressive. So after seeing them, it's just, and then the guys just get up there and flex, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it looks a lot harder to do the women's thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, Andrew Jackson can do the splits, and he's like
It's
6'1" or something. Like, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
When they handed him his check, they're like, do something, do a pose. That's why you won the check. And so he just like, okay, he just did the splits right there with the check in his hands, which was pretty funny. It was good shit.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I think, what else? So should we discuss Rami? What do you guys think about that?
What was going on with he looked like he was about to get served up with some gravy and
he got the Christmas goose on his quads.
He was fully cooked, and I think that's a good word for it. He's done. Like, I don't know what, and I think we were right as far as his conditioning was better than it was at the Olympia, but it still couldn't fix what he's done.
No, I mean he definitely looks better. I'll give him that. But I almost feel like in order for him to get back up there in placing, he has to actually try to shrink his legs down and his shoulders, because it's just it overpowers absolutely everything. So his legs specifically, they just don't look right. It does. It looks fucking weird. So it's he should skip leg day for a bit. Try to let the rest of his body catch up. Maybe stop putting synthol in his shoulders and let his biceps and triceps catch up to that. I feel like if he tried, that would be the route that he should try to go for. But then he's also got the issue with the back, with his lats. I know they're trying stem cells to try to get that to activate, but no one I feel like is entirely sure what's going on with that. So I couldn't really wait. Right? That's what they're saying. He's got some nerve damage, so they're trying some stem cell stuff. But I don't know, man. It's really hard to tell.
Well, and his quads are so crazy because it makes everything off. Even his calves look his lower leg looks terrible. It just looks so fake and so gross.
You're gross.
I would rather see Nick's Nightcrawler legs than that.
Which, by the way, is hilarious because your last episode you were talking shit about Nick, and then you totally got a photo with him.
Oh my god,
my best friend,
Nick. I love you so much.
I did not say that. I said, "Good luck, man."
I hate you.
He was really nice though, and so we had a ton of pros come in because pros get in for free there, and
pros gym.
Yeah, and then some of the pros were really nice, and some of them were kind of tools, and he was a nice one. Him and Matt, they came in by themselves, no entourage, no camera crew. It was kind of interesting because like a lot of people brought a huge group, and like Ramon and Junior, I didn't catch his last name, but he was the other guy in Classics, Junior something from Brazil. They rolled like 15 deep. Crazy.
Jeez, that's a lot.
It was.
I feel like
it was
they'd
a lot.
getting in the way.
They were. They were.
I do still admire, Nick, like you said, Nick's passion, drive, and heart in it, because it's just like you feel it. He puts off that vibe where it's like he wants nothing more than to do bodybuilding. He's just in it, and so yeah, I feel for him in that sense. And I know Matt is probably pretty bummed as well, because they're all that crew is super passionate, and Sean, I think he's pretty stoked about his placing. He took fifth in the open, and this guy is 5 foot tall and weighs somewhere around anywhere between 180 to 190, something in that range.
Yeah,
so
212.
Yeah, he's still got room to grow into 212, but I don't know where he's going to put it because he's huge for his frame. But he's essentially flawless. He's just small. So, unfortunately, the same thing goes for Sean as goes for Nick. They have to rely on other people coming in off in order for them to place higher. And that's kind of, I feel like, why Sean won the last open competition that he did, probably because he just came in flawless. And, he might be smaller, but other people might have come in a little bit off. But everyone came in dialed in the Arnold. It was a hard decision, I'm sure, for the judges, especially the top three. So it was a good one to watch. It was like, oh my gosh, who's gonna get it? I don't know.
Yeah, it was cool, and I also liked that it was that though, because it was kind of fun. It made it fun. It made it like really entertaining. Like the crowd, I don't know you guys weren't there live, but like the crowd for prejudging, I mean, it was smaller, but everybody was rooting for different people, and you could hear them screaming, and it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's fun. One day, I want to go. I'm gonna go to Arnold one day. I'll go after everyone moves to California. We'll all fly out there together. How about that?
When we don't have anywhere free to stay.
Yeah. That's, of course, got to make sure it's the most complicated way possible to go.
That's okay. That's okay. But I ran into James. James was a lot of fun at the Gasp. He was like just across the street across the carpet from the Gasp. And like no one was talking to him. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I would be up in that guy's business like, dude, I'm trying to be mini you. Like, he's bald, that's all. That's the only reason. And also, he's Kratos, like, for any nerds out there, you know what I'm talking about. That's so awesome. He seems like such a sweet guy, and he's so goofy. Like, remember at the Olympia when he
ran off stage?
They're like, hey, it's not every day you see a 300-pound man run around. Oh.
And I love that he inline skates and stuff.
He's such a nerd. He's
a
computer
big
nerd too. Yeah, I'm a fan.
But everybody was lined up for Brett Wilkins, right? Because he was in the booth too. But they weren't. It wasn't like an appearance thing. They were just hanging out. I don't know, but it was fun.
I almost wonder. I wonder about Brett's future because he does kind of he has better aesthetic physique than Nick, but I know that he kind of has a bigger issue with getting in enough calories to grow because he's got an insanely fast metabolism, and they're trying to get him Olympia qualified for a bit. I think they finally succeeded, but it was the last competition in somewhere in Europe. So he had to travel a lot to finally get that. But I'm kind of curious how he'll end up doing when he does get to the point where he competes in Olympia, because it's just he is a little bit on the smaller side. I know he's working on that not being the case, but he does have a good physique. I'm just wondering how it will stack up to everyone else, or if he's on anyone's radar, or if they're kind of still just he's still doing his thing. He's got time. He's got to work on some shit. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how he does.
We'll see, because I'm also curious to see how Regan comes in after his break. I think he's going to be interesting. I almost squarely ran into him because he was leaving the rain tent, and I was trying to go around the back to get free reins without seeing anybody. So I almost ran into him. Physically, I think I would have been knocked to the ground.
Concussed. You'd have heard thunder. Yeah, I just realized that you meant free reign, like free movement. I was like, it's raining? It's raining.
No, like the drink.
Oh!
Like the
Energy drink.
I was wrong on both
none
counts.
of those things.
The orange one. That shit slaps.
I like the rain. I like the rains a lot, but Maddie will only let me have them every once in a while because they have so much caffeine in them.
Yeah, I'd be. Sharice is like, you cannot have coffee and that. I'm like,
that's what Maddie says, and she's like, "Well, then you're not having pre-workout," and I'm like, "Stop."
let me OD on this. It's fine. I'll just get a little
tastes
nervous.
Yummy.
Okay, kids, don't do that.
I'm proud to say that Des will let me OD as much as I want.
Damn it.
I got a long leash, all right?
It's one of those retractable ones.
Oh, man. But yeah, I've never tried those before, so maybe one of these days I'll have to check them out.
They just actually launched another, like, the ones in the white can. If you ever see white can ones, those have less caffeine. They had them for samples.
I don't want that.
I know. Never. Stay away from the white cans.
Stay away from the white cans.
I like the anxiety.
I know I recently realized that I was drinking not bulletproof coffee. There's this brand of whole bean that's allegedly double the caffeine content.
Death proof or Black
like
Rifle?
Something. I have had Black Rifle. It's actually pretty good. But
I think it's death proof, isn't it, or something like that?
Death. I want to say liquid death so bad, but that's water. Death something.
Death something.
It's got a skull and crossbones, and I was like, that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And
that should be fun.
And then drinking that and being like, now it's time for the Godzilla pre. And then I'd be like, why can't I sleep ever? So that was why. So I started doing like just a half a serving of the Godzilla and changing my coffee so now I can sleep. So.
Dude, can you imagine doing that and then Adderall and then
I
pre-workout?
do.
Exactly.
It's like that's why
man.
This is why your wife doesn't allow you to do things.
So again,
this is why you got privileges taken away.
Yeah, because you hear people be like, "Oh, when you feel that feeling in your heart, you're like, perhaps I have flown too close to the sun."
Death.
Yeah.
See, what my favorite thing to do, and I'm gonna actually go on the internet and say this, and Maddie knows my favorite feeling is when I'm properly caffeinated and have enough weed in my system that they're at this magical plane of existence where everything is perfect, and like you feel amazing, and you're like, I have just enough caffeine in me and just enough coffee that I can be social and talk at the same time and even make sense because the caffeine has like sped up my brain enough and open the Pandora box of my imagination, and it's wonderful. It's the whole world, and it's like about either like a big cold brew or a small Americano and a joint. And that's perfect.
We did that in Vegas, and that was chill as fuck. I mean, it wasn't. It was whatever you had.
They have THC coffee, so they just put it right in the coffee. Yeah.
We probably can't get that in the Midwest here, but
yeah.
That's
sorry, I forgot.
Country. You got to. Have you seen those mugs that have like a?
Yeah, I got my roommate one once. My old roommate, not Lane or not Maddie. She's not my roommate.
Roommate. Mm-hmm. We're going back to that day when we had to say it was roommates.
Yeah, speaking of things I really like post-morning poo after the coffee. That, for me, is like peak existence. Like, I'm like, there are no impurities in my body. I am empty. And it's
I'm
always
empty.
after weigh-ins, and I'm like, I wonder how much I weigh now, and it's never different. And I'm like, but I feel like I've lost 20 pounds.
Yo, I've had clients tell me how much they weigh pre and post poop before, and I'm like,
my
awesome. I didn't even know that.
I tell you all, especially.
I don't know if you've ever told me that, though.
I have. Maybe you just like went, I didn't like that, so we're going to forget it.
He just pretends it doesn't exist.
Like, that's great. That's
Just
great.
blacked
buddy.
it out.
Yeah. But the Legion, the joint supplement, I think is helping. But I also started taking, it's something with like berberine and artist. It's supposed to be for your tummy. Anyway, perfect doo-doo. Perfect.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Nice.
if you're listening and you too want to do like me, then
Sounds like an ad break.
I know I was telling my friends about that, and I was like, "Yeah, use Coach Cody at checkout." They're like, "It's your MLM again." Not an MLM.
That's hilarious.
I don't work for Legion. Not affiliated.
I mean, I don't work
Just
for
Cody.
them, but yeah, just me.
You're affiliated.
Affiliated. Yes, sponsored, whatever.
But yeah, it's
called.
good stuff. It's good stuff. So yeah, that's all.
It
We
is.
talked about poop for way
Otherwise,
too long.
no, poop is good. We could probably
is
talk
good.
about that for a whole episode.
That could be all about the poop, the straight poop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that
The
sometime.
doo-doo.
The doo-doos.
Episode.
The doo-doo news. The news.
Doo-doo. Doo-doo.
Goodbye.
That's a fun mouthfeel.
The doo-doo?
Doo-doo. Say it fast.
Child. Kel says doo-doo tastes good. I'm telling.
Oh, man. Well,
We're derailed. Should
we kind of reel it back into the Arnold?
Yeah, you're right. That was my fault. I started talking about poop. That was all.
It's part of life. We all do it. Yeah, we got that
Everybody
book.
poops.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Urs. Is that how you say his name?
Urs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know
Urs.
I was talking mad shit in the group chat, being like, "What kind of baby goes to the doctor?" Because I go to the doctor
From food poisoning.
I know, but
It's
so
like,
he had
dude,
food poisoning.
You went to the
Throw up.
doctor for so many weird things, and then you're like, "What? Who goes to the doctor for food poisoning?" It's like, okay.
Shit. But no. When I started thinking about it, I was like, wait a second. What kind of food poisoning would a bodybuilder from another country get? The meat here isn't agreeing with his stomach. He could have picked up anything because
Yeah.
Germany has more restrictions on what can be in their meat. He could have picked up some nasty shit. Couldn't do pill antibiotics and had to go in and get IV antibiotics like intense for a couple of days. That sucks and makes sense.
Well, honestly, I kind of laugh a little bit because when you're at that aspect of prep, you're not eating out anywhere. So chances are he gave it to himself.
No, I mean, like, he's cooking. Yeah, like
Yeah,
he
he probably. Well, he might not have the best food safety knowledge. That tends to happen sometimes. So, if someone didn't cook chicken thoroughly, or if it was
Or
already
you can fuck up
bad.
rice really bad too. If you don't do it properly or don't store it properly,
Yeah.
especially if he's moving around with food or as he was flying over here, because you don't have refrigeration. There's a whole bunch of ways you can fuck it up. This actually used to be my career, and and it can get bad. Like, people die of food poisoning, and it doesn't. It just depends on how bad you get it and how. Plus, if he's fucked up his flora in his gut from prep, you can get bad.
Yeah, and it just you can get some ulcers and shit. Yeah, depending on the bacteria. So, that's another thing. Who knows what he was vomiting, what was happening. But I'm
The double
glad he's
dragon.
okay. Yeah, that double dragon. That's
It
pretty
all
Talking about
comes
doing
back.
it. I knew I was like, if I talk about his food poisoning, that's like 1 degree of separation, if that. It's more like
Yeah.
half a degree.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. So, like, spicy food is the only food that you can taste both going in and out.
Why
Gross.
is that? What's in
I don't know.
pepper that burns my
I
They're
would like
pain
to-
sensors, not
Yeah,
taste
it's that.
sensors.
Yeah. So, that'd be great if we could, like, taste sweetness out of our assholes. Like, oh, I remember eating that. That was great.
That'd be especially helpful during a cut. You'd be like, yes, I remember yesterday.
People
That's
start
my
sticking
cheat meal.
shit in their-
My
I'm
treat
pretty
meal
sure-
going really well.
Yeah, people will just start sticking shit up their assholes, and that would probably
People already
not
do
be
that.
beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it would
enemas.
just be worse.
That is
Yeah,
worse.
be like
That
a
is worse.
like a frosting enema. That would be probably a little messy.
I don't want to ruin your life, but I'm sure there's someone on this planet who's done that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Without a doubt.
I don't.
Yeah.
If that's you, we'd like to have you on the podcast because we want to pick your brain. So let us know.
1 in 3 people have put frosting up their ass.
Oh. Did you just pull
Me
that
and
out of your ass?
Ran out of lube.
So which one
maybe.
of you? There's 3 of us and I didn't.
Oh my god. Seth, are you telling us that you put frosting up your ass? 1 in 3?
Neither confirm nor deny. No, I mean, why would you do that? I mean, I don't know. I am pure and a child of God, so I have no idea why someone would do that. So.
Yes, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Jeez.
Anyways.
Oh my God. But can you believe that yours like competed though after having food poisoning? That is
Yeah.
impressive because he looked good. He looked like he was having fun.
hmm
I would
Yeah.
not have guessed.
Nah, I like his physique, but I feel like he's got some growing to do. Like his arms are a little small. He just looks like he lacks overall muscle maturity, but he's pretty young, right? So I think like he moved up to the ranks pretty quickly. So I feel like he's still got time, but he does have really good, structure, and I think potentially I could see him winning the Olympia Classic physique sometime in the future. So, and then Ramon, I don't know that he has much room to grow. Am I assuming? I feel like I heard that even for the Olympia, he either almost didn't make weight or didn't and had to like cut some more water and re-weigh. But I could have just been, imagining that.
I think he's really close to cap.
Yeah.
But I like yours physique. I think it's very, very classic looking, and I think he moves it well. But I agree he's very small, and I think he would have to wait until Sebum is done because I don't think he would never. No one's gonna take over Sebum's.
Yeah.
So
side by
like,
side.
and I think at that point he would be older and like he has to stay focused for that long, and I don't know. We'll see, I suppose, but
Yeah. Let's
It's
see.
Sebum all day.
Yeah, at some point, whenever Sebum either gets beat or retired, then those two can move up and it'll be a battle. But I don't know when that day will come. I know Sebum has said that he does plan to compete in the Open at some point, not at the Olympia, and he doesn't necessarily want to prep for it. He just wants to kind of do it. So I'm assuming at some point he'll probably try to compete in the Open and in Arnold's at some point in his career because it's kind of closer to the Olympia and he's already kind of ready for it. So basically he was like, I don't want to like spend a year getting ready to compete in the Open. I just want to peak for an Open competition. So
You
that
get
will be
smoked.
really it'll be really interesting to see how that goes. He's had to stay kind of smaller just to be able to fit in, his weight class. But, he'll obviously be smaller than a lot of the guys, but he's just so well rounded. I can't imagine he would do awful. And he's tall, so he's actually pretty damn big. But I want to see what he looks like standing next to open,
Competitors.
There's pictures of that, and that's why I said and get his ass beat, because there's some pictures of him next to Hottie, and then some next to a couple other open guys, and even Ian. I know you're a huge fan of Ian, but like, he is so much smaller than them. But here's the thing: if he placed well in open, we could start going back to, I mean, this is really optimistic talking, and I do like looking at the freaks. Let's be real, but Arnold, like him always talking about, like, that's what we need to go back to, the classic structure. If he placed well, that could be a really good precedent, in my opinion. If you prefer classic physique, it would be a really good precedent to set. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would take and this sounds really bad, but I think it would take a lot of really bad things to continue to happen for it to switch. Because I think they're making slight changes. I mean, but like not huge ones yet. And I think that would have to be a big change to go away from get as big as you can to trimming back and focusing so much more on the pretty. And while we're getting a little bit more pretty aesthetics, I think it's simply because the sign, like, how big can you get? Like, then we're just gonna get nicks. So
yeah, it's been mass monsters dominating for a while now. I think since Ronnie, Jay Cutler, like they kind of created all that, or Dorian Yates, so it's hard to get away from that now that it's kind of the norm. So I think that's why they're like created classic. But at the same time, I do hope, it does seem they're swinging the way of wanting more aesthetic look. That's why Samson, I feel, got it over Nick, and Andrew was in the top 3 as well, over Rami. And
I agree. Yeah.
So it's like they might be kind of trying to slowly swing it in the other direction. They probably can't necessarily do it too quickly. So maybe they're kind of just competition by competition, kind of showing people what they're looking for. And then in turn, people won't be so focused on the size, but also looking at the other parts of it. But I don't know. I'm not a judge, but
but we do judge, just not for money.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's free. You're welcome.
Open. I know the whole point is that it's open, but like a weight cap would fix a lot of problems. But there's no way that wouldn't go over well, I don't think.
I wonder if it would, though, because a lot of the dangerous shit happens when people are trying to make weight. So like with the water manipulations, the diuretics and stuff like that. So I don't know that would necessarily fix it. It would encourage people not to get too big, kind of like classic. But, if there's a lot of water cutting and things like that can potentially be dangerous. Yeah. So it's hard to know, really, besides the judges just being like, yeah, you can be too big. So
yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that they, like you said, they are trying to put on a little bit of a precedent, but I don't know if we're going to swing enough that we're going back to Arnold, because like Arnold is not, he would have been demolished in the open now.
Yeah. Also, it's so funny to watch like everybody fanboy over Arnold. I feel like he's unamused all the time. Like I feel everyone that ever comes across him tells him how much they love him and what they mean to him, and he's just like, all right, let's go. He just moves on.
That's his vibe.
Yeah,
that's what it was like when I met him.
He's like, all right, I know
this. Okay.
Been hearing it for decades, so I'm sure he's like, yep, mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder what he's actually like in, real life with his close friends and family, or if he's, I don't know.
He's the Terminator.
If he's a dick, or he's the Terminator.
He's just the Terminator. Yeah. He's a cyborg. He rips it off. He's like, yeah. No,
Though
he's
him taking selfies with all the competitors was kind of funny, like as during the show. Except also if you were on stage, I would have found that so fucking annoying.
Oh, I know. I know. I think someone said that the security told him to sit down, and they're like,
Yeah.
does the security person not know who he is?
Well, I'm like, who did they draw short straws? Because who's gonna go over there and tell Arnold to do that at his own show?
Fuck, no.
I know.
Mm-mm.
Because I saw the security guard go get him or whatever, but I'm like, who is going to do that? I would rather lose my job personally.
Oh, yeah. I would not do that. Mm-mm.
Because he owns it, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's Arnold.
I mean, it's a fair question. Sometimes people don't have the rights to their own shit, which is nuts. But yeah, I mean, be like, sit down. It's not like he's like someone's great aunt at a wedding, like getting in the wedding
Right.
picture. It's like it's kind of his show, his party.
Yeah. Well, so now that we've basically talked about everything under the sun with the Arnold and poop and all that stuff, should we talk a bit about mindset? Because we are in this period of time, seasons where it's, still kind of shitty weather. There's no holidays to look forward to. It's not quite spring. It's not quite summer. Motivation tends to run low at this time of year is what I found. However, it does start to pick up because people are like, oh shit, it's almost summer. I need my summer body. But right now, there tends to be a lull in most people's motivation, I feel like, because it's just kind of, you lose track of your why. Because you're all, what am I getting ready for? What am I looking forward to? This is just the same shit I've been doing every day for the past X amount of time. And then, things can get a little stale. So how do we keep things from getting stale? How do we keep pushing through times of low motivation? What do we do? What does it mean? All those fun things. What do you guys think?
So what I like to tell people is I'm like, this is what we've been practicing for the year or whatever we've been doing this, right? So this is the time where we're putting all of our habits, all of our systems to test. So it sucks. It's like kind of like the grind out time. Like you just need to grind for another month. And you can either, you have to kind of think of it like life comes in seasons and this is the boring one. And you just kind of have to accept it. To be frank, that's kind of where I'm at. I tell people like this is when we're putting our systems to use, but also like, I mean, it's okay that it's boring for a second. Like boring is okay. And I think we always just want to be entertained by everything we're doing. And that's not necessarily a requirement. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I think it's just one of those things where you have to rely on the habits you've currently built to keep moving forward and doing things even though you're not feeling it or you don't want to, because that's just part of life. And it doesn't, it's not any different for exercise. Just like probably this time of year, you don't want to go to work. You're kind of tired of it. You're kind of burned out and you're bored. But, you got to go anyways. So, yeah. What do you think, Seth?
Yeah, so treating it like a job, one, is probably my number one thing. Like, you just can't, like, in the same way that, performance review or whatever, you need to do at least, like, what's required, and I have what's required of me, and I do it. But even more importantly is not looking way, way, way out there. I just do it by the day, usually by the week, but sometimes it's just got to be the day of, like, I'm just going to I'm going to check every box. And then when you get to the end of the day and you check every box, you write it off in your mindful journal or whatever it is that you're doing. It is satisfying, and you get that little dopamine hit that's like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Because guess what? When you don't, and you do what you're not supposed to do, or you do something unplanned, you don't feel good about that. Like, especially if you're, if you're planning to compete, but for someone who is, into just being generally fit and wanting a better quality of life, you can have those moments, but it's important to keep moving past it and not have that become a pattern of behavior, because that's, how people spiral out. So,
well, and this is my other the other thing I really like to do is think about different kinds of goals. So like we talk about SMART goals all the time, and you want to have big goals, medium-sized goals, and littler goals. And now is the time to kind of come up with some fun little goals. So like I have a lot of my clients focusing on strength goals. I'm like, we don't have to focus on just physique, or just like looks all the time. You can think about just getting stronger and like moving your body more. And so now you can think about littler goals, or you can think about something that will feed into a bigger goal. And really focus in on those smaller gains that we can either see a win or loss at the end of the month or at the end of the week. And you kind of have to get a little bit more creative on these smaller ones, just because you have to set realistic expectations. But it still can be done. And so it's kind of about change. It's a lot about changing your perspective, I think, in these spring times.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, we kind of forget, sometimes people have the goal of, oh, I want to have a better relationship with my body, with myself. And so it's like, if you want to have a better relationship with yourself, your body, you have to remember your body also has needs, just like any other relationship. The person you're in a relationship with has needs. So your body needs to move. It needs proper nutrition. You can't just be like, I don't give a fuck about your needs. I only care about what I want. So you have to take care of yourself. And that doesn't matter what season it is. And you might want a large pizza with extra pepperoni, but your body is like, yo, I have needs. What are you doing? I need some vegetables. I need some movement. So improving your relationship with your body isn't all about just body positivity and doing what you want because it feels good in the moment. It's about taking care of yourself like an adult and nurturing the relationship with your body. It's like, in a relationship, say it's a marriage, and you're on a bit of a roller coaster, because relationships can do that sometimes. You might go to couples therapy or something like that, a little therapy with yourself and your body, and just being like, all right, body, what do you need? I'm going to try to be more sensitive to your needs. Water. So yeah, water, sleep, all those things. So yeah, that's just kind of a way I thought of it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I think, sorry, go ahead.
You're good.
No. I think, so I was going to do this for the power talk, but I think we could talk about it now. So there's this thing that I like to think about a lot. It's called the Pater-Manaoff phenomenon. Pater-Manaoff phenomenon. Okay. I'm not a good pronouncer. And so the way they explain it is, once you buy a car and you say you buy a red car, you never noticed that there were so many red cars in the world, and now you're seeing your exact car everywhere. And you're like, well, that's a bummer. I never saw this before. And it's just because you're noticing it more, right? So I think it's more along that perspective shift. So the way I kind of like to help people with mindset a lot is you notice what you pay attention to. So if you're thinking about looking heavier or looking a certain way, you're going to notice it more, and you're going to not make things up, but you're going to make things fit the narrative that you want in your head. And it's the same thing with like negativity. It's the same thing with like if you think someone's mad at you, and then everything that they're interacting with you is reinforcing what you are already thinking, right? And so I do think some of these concepts can be kind of widened out into the fitness and health culture in general. And so if we're thinking, so gloomy, I don't need to move, I don't want to do this, you think of it that way. But if it's like you get one sunshiny day out in your week, instead of being bummed about it, you'd be, oh, hell yeah, I'm going to do my cardio outside, and you'll get pumped about it. And so you can control the way that your mood is working simply by how you're viewing it. And that's not going to help us folks with chemical imbalances necessarily, but it can helps sometimes, and it can kind of break those patterns that we can find ourselves in. Because I don't know about you guys, but like if I have a shitty day on Monday, I can almost promise you it's going to be a shitty week because I started out bad, and it's really hard to get back out of that habit unless you have some kind of pattern disruption that breaks up that habit that you have going, even if it's a short term or and I know I'm rambling a little, but I think sometimes it is just having that awareness to kind of zoom out, look at the force, see what's happening and what direction you're headed, and try to make adjustments. So that was a really long tangent, but that's
I loved it.
Yeah, that's great. And I think also who you surround yourself with. So also if people around you are negative, that'll kind of bleed over into your life, or you have to be careful about if you're being negative and having it bleed over to other people's lives. So it's kind of like, be careful what you tell yourself, be careful what you say out loud, because it has an impact on everything around you. So, yeah.
Right. And there's a Ben Franklin quote that I used to talk about a lot when I was going through some shit, and it's lay down with dogs, rise with fleas, and it's like because you become the people you're around, right? So like you just pick up habits. Like everybody does that. Like when you're in a new relationship, you'll start saying words like schmutz. I've never said the word schmutz in my life, but Maddie is of Jewish ancestry and says schmutz all the fucking time, and now I know what it is, and I use it quite frequently just because I'm around her. But you can pick up silly things like that, and it can pick up like mood stuff, like things that you would never have viewed as negative, now you're seen as negative because that's what you hear a lot. So just be aware of those things, and don't be afraid to confront them. Like so
Yeah.
You got to kind of take control of your own destiny to an extent, even if it sounds cheesy.
It sounds metal.
Yeah. I think it's a struggle for some people. For some people, you really, really have to give more effort to be positive or look on, the bright side of things. I feel like some people are just wired differently, but it's still possible. You have to make an active effort, but you can still, change your perspective on things and look at the positive. Even if you find the negative first, counteract that, balance it out with a positive. And I feel like you're going to be better off than if you're just solely looking at the negative shit.
And people really underestimate just how much you might just need a nap because you're a little fussy baby.
Or hungry.
So hungry, tired, those two things, those will get me every time. I'll be like, today's the worst day. My life is terrible. And I'd be like, wait a second, let's take a nap. Then I wake up and I'm like, I am just a 336-month-old baby. I just need my naps and food at the right time. And I'm usually quite pleasant. Those things all considered. But if you throw my shit off, fussy.
Yeah.
Baby.
And I think also recognizing that every situation is going to have like two sides, right? So I had this conversation with someone actually yesterday about how they are so upset with this person because of their actions, current actions. And I'm like, well, they weren't like, they were a friend at one point, right? Now maybe they're not, and that's okay. But you also have this other part. So both have good and bad. And recognizing that kind of makes it easier because it's just a thing. It's not a negative or a bad thing. It's just a thing. I've been reading a lot of Stoicism books lately. Can you guys tell?
I really like Stoicism, so it's probably what I like.
Very.
Well, cool. Should we wrap it up there?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
So, well, I guess we should say, if you have not joined the lab yet, you are missing out. We did just start our March challenge, but it's a 31-day month. There's still time. So if you would like to join in, please do so. It's a mindful March challenge. So it's probably the easiest one to come into midway, transitioning into, kind of get a feel for things. because we're focused on mindset. So I guess that's probably why we talked about it. But come on in, join us. Just go to www.yourfitlab.com. And that is it. Yeah.
Adios.
Adios.
I mean, more.